it. I don't know if it was mental, if it was circles, but they've got to bounce back. And then we have the inevitable conversation.
Yes.
Twisted Minds. Can they do it? We saw them at the tail end of yesterday. It started to look like it could happen.
I think it can. I mean, I think that's one of the most likely results, to be honest, is that Twisted Mind comes out the gate here on Miramar, swinging, puts up some big points, and all of a sudden we're looking at them to be potentially our champions. And of course, Virtus Pro, we cannot go without mentioning them. They have really risen up, a squad full of veterans, a few players who have been oh so close, particularly Beamy back on that heroic squad in 2021. Those are some very, very smart players who know how to approach a grand finals.
And that's exactly what I wanted to hit on whenever we look at VP. They are innovating in so many different ways. I mean, we've got Bloomy that we could talk about. We saw Ibiza running around, hanging out in the blue, and he had himself the Panzerfaust. A lot of opportunities, but who is going to be able to step up when it matters? It is time. The plane is up in the air, and we're starting on Miramar.
This is going to be an intense day. The leaderboard towards the top gives us so many opportunities for so many of these teams to make some big moves, to make their way towards that 2024 trophy. Just have to wait and see who is going to come out and bring home that big, big championship. Now, the plane will be pretty northernly shifted on this one, folks. We've got a lot of teams that are going to want to go south, like T1, that are going to have a little bit of an extra journey to make. And just kind of keeping our eyes on how everybody's going to be dropping for a team like Twisted Minds. This is well within their wheelhouse. A couple other teams that we should talk about that are going to be in the conversation here potentially today, TSM and the Expendables, within 1 point of each other and within theoretical reasonable distance of qualifying or of getting that championship.
And two teams that can absolutely explode. We've been talking a lot about Sparking, the capabilities of that squad and what he can do. Then there's the Expendables, who we've just also seen pull off some sneaky plays, not afraid to skirmish early, getting them dusted up just a bit. See, we are going to be following T1, managed to find a vehicle pretty early, but I mean, days change, but not a lot as we're looking with this plane path and how the circle can lay. We've been seeing a lot of hard shifts, so yep, I was expecting it. We're cutting over into the east.
Yeah, so we've seen a few plane paths that have resulted in circles like this, so should be somewhat understood territory in a way. We've had a circle end pretty near Al-Azhar this tournament. Could be looking at something similar for VP, the team that drops in that area. They're going to be the ones that have priority. Are they going to take one of those compounds? They're going to set up a 2-2 split across that canyon that runs just to the south of Al-Azhar. Something like that very much could be in the cards for them. The Freaks as well, going to be able to get very, very close to the center of the circle if they so choose early in this game.
I mean, Death Star Trench cutting through is going to be problematic for teams as they navigate. But, I mean, we've still got the Impala Pills that are just down to the south, man. Those are going to be so open. Nobody is praying it goes that direction. Instead, hoping that RNGesus will lead us up into the north, give us some capabilities to play around a bit more fortified positions to be working through. But, I mean, VP, they've got starting inside track. They've got opportunities. Can they exploit it? Where do they think is powerful in the circle?
Absolutely. Another team I'm very keen to keep track of this game is going to be Twisted Minds because of how good they are at controlling space on the edge of circles so far this year. They've been fantastic at setting up these wide spreads that trap teams, that keep their edges clear, that set them up for these great late game pushes.
But what I'm concerned about is we often see high ground information gathering being a key component for Twisted Minds. If they're wanting to start the ball rolling on this game, this is not the easiest circle to get a ton of information on. It's got a lot of valleys, a lot of places that teams can really hunker down. And since they're going to be coming in a bit later than everybody else that's already inside the circle, they're going to be navigating it with less information. They've already managed to send Lou over. Looks like he's going to be getting a bit of a foothold over just north of Graveyard, but he's got to be careful. He's pretty close to the Freaks.
Yeah, my eyes are on Lou, who's already on an early scouting mission for Twisted Minds. You know, those you're talking about the high ground that could be available for Twisted Minds to go for. Really, the only thing available in this circle are the Minas Mountains, the ones that are just to the north of Minas Generales. That's where you can get up, get some early info potentially. See if that's going to be the strategy and the plan. We have seen a few more emergency pickups from Twisted Minds. That has been something they have been willing to invest in, to incorporate into their playstyle in this event. What is going to be the strategy, the MO? And early on, you've got a motorcycle for Lou, and look exactly where he's going, right to these mountains.
Ooh, just like a mountain goat, shot up that hillside.
but Tulin's taught him well.
I mean, really did. We can see that there was an emergency pickup that was called by, I believe, FaZe, but it looks like they're just going to be running in right down below it. They're going to get themselves pretty centered in, but Lou is going to have a ton of information. And this is kind of low economy. They sent him over here specifically to gather information. That means the fact that teammates are going to have to loot up, try to load up a vehicle for him, make sure that they're bringing in enough stuff so that way he has the tools to succeed in the later stages, because Lou's found himself in a couple of really good clutches. TSM, though, is going to find 4 Angry Men. HS already down, should be flushable pretty quick, but have now put themselves in a vulnerable position. That is going to be a return position that they're having to play from. Pretty cautious, but Sparking managed to find a knock on a Bobo.
Yeah, this has been part of TSM's strategy in these grand finals. Is they're willing to scrap early. A lot of times we've seen intentional traps set up for opponents. This one may have just been teams kind of bumping into each other a little bit on rotation timings, but for 4 Angry Men, a team that's had a really nice final so far, sitting in 8th place, definitely playing well above expectations for them. Quite frankly, they've been really good in moments, but this is not the start they wanted today.
Yeah, and we also have seen that Purdy has gone down a couple of times early for TSM, but it looks like they should be able to res him, so still going to be 4 strong. The trap not costing him anything this time. Also gives him a pretty decent track to a couple of good positions to play inside the circle on top of picking up those early kills. And now Twisted starting to spot out that rotation we saw just a moment ago coming up for 4 Angry Men.
Yeah, I like this a lot from Twisted Minds. You've got Lou to watch your backside to also give you a little bit of cover on your flanks to make sure that no one's going to be able to get close to this position. You've got some firing lines down on top of 4AM. Lou there had a moment, couldn't really connect onto Godby. Godby just trying to maneuver his coup to a safer spot, but FaZe, Jeems out wide as usual for FaZe Clan. Does a little bit of damage to VP, but isn't going to overstay his welcome.
Bro, you can never know where Jeems is going to be at on the map. He just goes wherever he pleases, and the rest of the team benefits off of it.
Yeah.
But it is kind of a double-edged sword. Sometimes he can go down early, but very rarely it feels like he can really navigate and find ways to get a sneaky kill here or there.
Yeah, of the solo kind of early scouters that we have, you think about Salute on the Freaks, Lil Ghost on 17 Gaming, players like that. He's probably one of the safest overall, but it hasn't really been super effective this event. Sending those players out, even for the Freaks, sometimes they do lose Salute early, and then it seems like they really tighten up. No. They get cautious. Oh, Perfectix. Oh, but examples there. Find the knock with the Dragunov.
That's not the angle that they wanted. 4 Angry Men in the slightest. So now down to just 1, and it feels like everybody is just going after the 4 Angry Men. They cannot find a home. Every single position that they try to move from is just going to already be occupied. They moved pretty early, but the rest of the lobby just was so far ahead of them in pacing.
And look at this. They're already in vehicles trying to circle 4AM here. I mean, they know the kill feed. They know that 4AM's lost players. They know they're weak, and they are hungry for some points.
They are expecting him to be a bit more entrapped, but realizing the fact running out. Oh no! Zepion already taking some more damage, in some trouble with this. I don't even know where he can go. Nowhere is safe. Every single angle has a team that wants to put in damage on him, and it's only a matter of time before Twisted Minds manages to realize, okay, those shots are going to be going after our solo, and it's going to be Fex peppering it in and slowly finding some damage, but Zepion still clinging to life.
Yeah, he managed to find just enough of a dip, but Fex trying to find the angle. But I think the rock there as well going to keep Zepion obscured for now. And Fex doesn't want to overextend. Not much else he feels like he can do in that situation. That's going to open up some space for TSM in the background there to go for a deeper position into the trench, try to find ability to play either north or south on this circle, whichever direction it goes, and try to get out of there relatively safely. You do have Day Trade ahead of them as well, kind of circling the edges of Al Azahar. But for now, all eyes on Zepion as he is scrambling to find cover.
Okay, Twisted making their rotation. Also kind of keeping an eye on what's going to be going on over here, as we also do have TSM.
Got a Lynx.
Roll through, and hey, I mean, make something of it. If you're going to be able to get anything out of it as a solo, this would be the tool you would want, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is a gun that, if he can survive as a solo, could find some quick knocks, some quick flushes, and get himself some easy points. You know, every position matters, regardless of whether or not you're in the hunt for the championship itself. Every position you fall, you lose money. So everybody's going to be grinding it out till the very end. Ketpa is going to be grinding himself out of this lobby. There is nobody close enough to pick him up.
Move as far out as you can, so that way if anybody has to come for you, they're going to have to deal with all of the shots from the squads around. Very centered right now. Everybody pretty much leaning south of Al Azahar. Most teams already in pretty much safe positions to play from. We've got Petrichor Road not yet inside the circle, but a lot of small little skirmishes going on around FaZe specifically as they're playing around Truck Stop, and they've been a core component for a lot of these counter moves.
Absolutely. I mean, FaZe, you know, in 7th place, 67 points. There's still a world where they can make a run at a championship, but it has to start now. It has to start early on Miramar. They have to be hungry for those points, so they're going to fan out. Kind of a 2-2 split they have set up there, but pretty well centered. Not too far from VP, but Purdy Curdy getting knocked early by Nurens.
And this is the second time as well, so that's going to be a problem for him. Day Trade are already kind of in a defended position. Looks like they're going to go ahead and regroup. I don't know if TSM is going to opt into kind of mirroring around this. It looks like the other duo for TSM just going to say, nope, you defend it yourself, keep it under control, but I think it's also going to be a couple of shots coming from, I believe, Luna Galaxy. Might be able to get some vision in on this, so is Alo going to commit in? And no, Alo's just going to step away, but now he doesn't have much of a choice. He's got to go back that direction, and now we still have a ton of water in the circle right along the coastline, even some unplayable in the northeast.
Yeah, this is a nasty circle shift. It has a lot of rocky terrain in it, though, so a lot of opportunity for teams to find some dips, find some dives, to kind of hang out, wait out the next couple of circles potentially. KDF going to have an inside track on a very central location for themselves. T1 going to be playing from that southern edge, but a lot of teams from the west going to have to scrap, and it's Jeans who goes down for FaZe.
Collapse is coming in. VP in a pretty good position, but got to be careful. They've got a compound and a lot of attention going their direction for the time being. FaZe trying to navigate, regroup. Did get a bit of a harassment that was coming out from FaZe just a moment ago, but Twisted also gets some vision in this. VP has got to be cautious. There's about to be a ton of foot pushes going on around them. Luna Galaxy just to the north. Let's not forget about TSM that we saw just a second ago. BB already making a wrap over into the north, as well as TE. Down to the south, there's plenty of space as we do have the Falcons and T1 pretty separated out. Petrichor Road going to be following back behind this. So we do have to keep an eye on Zepion back behind Twisted. Remember, they kind of were the catalyst for the start of a lot of what's going to be going on over here. They now have a Snake that's going to be coming up right back behind them, and their pathing into the circle is right along the ravine north of Truck Stop.
Yeah, for Zepion now, it's all about trying to make sure that you don't alert Twisted Minds to your presence, because they are very keenly aware. And in fact, they're going to see him. So now he's going to take some damage from Example, but gets into the house, gets into some brief moment of safety. We'll see how aggressive Twisted Minds is, trying to camp that Petrichor Road, trying to get ahead of T1. An aggressive start here for them again. Summer and EN trading about even amounts of damage. Philverse did get run over by Delwyn in the background.
Yeah, that's just a quick run up in the north that we were kind of monitoring at the time being. T1 does have the gatekeeping position on this one. Petrichor Road does have some options. They don't have to commit into this pathing, but it's not going to be feeling too good. Here's a continuation of what we were looking at just a moment ago with TE as well as BB. Delwyn's going to be making sure that it kind of juke around. Spots out! Good knock on to Spyro. And that is a lot of control now coming up for TE. There's 2 members down and out for BB. Playing off the back foot and now trying to regroup. A doozy is already inside of a vehicle trying to come over here, but I don't know. Is it too late? We even have Day Trade that's got some supervision on what's going to be happening over here.
Yeah, there's going to be an interesting fight up there, but there's another one happening here where Salute has found an early kill for the Kwangdong Freaks onto 17 Xiaobei. Takes him out over that hill, and then is going to be retreating back to the safety of this shanty town. They have found themselves a nice early point, probably some confidence. If you can get Salute going, that Freaks team can absolutely be scary. BB, in the meanwhile, does not want any more of this fight with the Expendables.
A doozy's inside of a vehicle, and he's sending it. It's going to be right next to Luna Galaxy as well, the Freaks. So Best of Luck is all by himself while his teammate is just getting absolutely demolished. Can he land? Near on no life. Does touch the ground. Manages to get out of the vehicle safely. But it's going to be the Mad that spots him out. And there is no chance for a res. BB, Best of Luck is so far away.
Yeah, this is a rough grand finals for BB team so far, but really a nice tournament for them overall. Happy to see them for sure in this event, but the Expendables, a team that could do some damage. Raining, though, doing some of his own on a Petrichor Road.
Petrichor Road had to come over here due to the gatekeeping that we saw T1 setting up. Nice trap, good momentum for T1 early, but we continue to keep a ton of this bay in play, and it's just going to continue up into the northeast. Petrichor Road did manage to make it by T1, but now they have to deal with EF. That is a problem in and of itself, and even if they do manage to get past this, they're still going to have Navi that's in front of them. Petrichor Road just sending it so few options. New spray, new player every single step of the way. Summer narrowly making away, but Egg Slap! Big shots to open the door.
He does get taken down by the Mad, but that was a crazy good shot from Akeslef. Could not do much else, though, as he is quickly knocked, and Petrichor Road may be in store for an early exit. A pass here of 17. They're going to lose another player to Salute. Xiaowu, very weak, but has the car behind the hill. And look at the Freaks. They are pressing the advantage.
I mean, we were worried about a bit of the mental coming in for the Freaks, but 2 kills on Salute already and just hounding down onto 17. Not too much more they can play. They have to be careful, though. There could be a couple of paths coming up back behind them for a couple of these other teams. So instead, slowing back down the pacing on it over into the north. Day trade phase, pretty much up on top of each other's. Oh, Calores! That was beautiful.
They have been tremendous with those mortars. The Expendables are really doing a great job using that piece of utility. They have found an outlying player of TSM. That's a brutal loss for TSM again. They're down to 1 player now, just Sparking, just their superstar. Can he get something going for them in this grand finals phase? Looks like they should be able to get the res onto Gustav. The Falcons have rolled in, but look who's right underneath them. It's the Freaks.
Oh, and they are jumping on this. Vehicles galore rolling right up next to the Falcons. They've got some high ground that they're going to be playing from, but VP also has a ton of information to work around with it. Looks like the Freaks don't feel too comfortable about this one right now. Salute is playing pretty far back, trying to provide some support, but it's going to be 17. The team that they were just dusting up with a moment ago. Falcons pinched in so many different directions. Ibiza has an opportunity. It's going to be Bean that does manage to get the flush onto Flood, but Human spots out Raw.
This is huge for the Freaks. They're doing such a good job capitalizing on opportunities right now. They've already taken out 2 players from a couple teams around them, 4 kills in total, and they've got firm control over the side of this hill for now, but T1 has rolled in to the far southeastern coast. There's a few solo players kind of hanging around that beach right now, but the Freaks are just being really opportunistic. They're finding these moments where they could strike and then they peel off. They know that they don't want to overextend. They don't want to lose any extra players. They want to get into that late game with 4 players up.
T1 is just doing such a good job off this gatekeep and using the information time and time again to leapfrog into different areas of the circle. Playing right along the coastline is going to give them a good defensive position to play from. They don't have to worry about anybody that's going to be back down behind them to the south, but there is number 2 right next door in the Freaks, just up to the northwest of their position. Where is the circle going to go? Finally leaves out the water, but I mean, man, this is going to be a hard path. We've got a death funnel over to the west where you can see it's going to be FaZe having to deal with the Falcons, Twisted Minds, VP, maybe even the Freaks, as it is going to be Virtus Pro that gets vision onto Perfectix.
Yeah, they've got a pretty good angle, but they're out in the blue. Now they're going to start taking some knocks. Lou's going to hit a big shot onto Nixie. And now Virtus Pro looking to set up some smokes, making sure that that flush is good to go. They may be thinking about peeling off. Meanwhile, the Freaks have rolled into 17.
Oh, this is a very weakened squad, and 17 has to be cautious. The Freaks know it, but they're having to navigate a very open area. They have to be cautious of the different angles that could be right back behind this one. Falcons also hear this, so the longer this goes on, the opportunistic Falcons might find a way to jump into it, but shots coming out are doing a good job on defending. Salute does get the knock on a little ghost, so there is an opportunity. The Freaks take it. They have to step away from the Falcons to maneuver down into this position, but it's going to be Xiaowu still alive, playing from the smokes. Can't quite spot him out just yet, so they're just going to have to run down right next to him.
For the Freaks now, you got to figure out where that last player is, and they're scrambling to get an angle. Finally, they're going to get some vision as Xiaowu pops out to take some shots. The smoke now dissipating. Another one popped here. Xiaowu throws it up to heaven, gets him, and that's going to be 17 out early.
But T1 now knows who the opponent is, knows exactly where they are. They are not yet inside the safe zone, so how do they want to come after this one? They can play along the coast, play it safe, or they can just bully their way right up against their competitors.
Oh, VP here has to be licking their chops. They've got the team that's right behind them on the leaderboard underneath their gun sights. They've got another knock onto Lou. Example in Batulins, a little beat up as well, but here comes Rello. 1, maybe 2. Unbelievable.
Absolutely picks him off at the worst time for VP. Ibiza now caught off guard, has to deal with it. He's now the new pinched man. A lot of problems. I think the Freaks realized the firefight earlier. They know where the knocks are going to be lying at. Rello, though, he takes down everyone on VP.
Unbelievable stuff here from Rello. What a timing. And the door is open for Twisted Minds, and they've got their sights on the team that just kind of bailed them out. There's already one knock. Rello trying to hold the line.
Can we see him hold? This is going to be so hard. Freaks have had pumped the brakes for just one moment, so he has an opportunity, but so much damage coming back after him. Does get the knock onto Example. Rello refuses to go down. Can he continue to make it happen? Everything is being thrown his direction, but somehow he's navigating it all. Slow, steady, paced perfectly.
Unbelievable play from Rello. He has been a standout for the Falcons this event, and he is continuing to just be an absolute nightmare to deal with. Jumps out into the smoke, takes a bunch of damage, may have gotten to some level of safety. Finally, Snaker's cleaned up. They're just spraying around the tree, hoping to find Rello, but he's able to get the first aid.
They don't want to run into that smoke. They know it's hazardous. And oh, look, he's even got a shield down prepared. That angle entirely cut out. New circle pops, and it does go right into the center of everything. So everybody has an opportunity to maneuver in. But remember, there is a lot of fields over in the east that are going to be open. But Salute is going to spot out Rello, who is trying to defend up, but now spots out the wicked Twisted Minds.
Yeah, this is great timing again for the Freaks. They've been so active on this edge, picking on weak teams, opening up space for themselves, and they have once again found a golden opportunity to harass some of the players around them on the leaderboard. But Twisted Minds has the high ground. They're able to kind of pump the brakes here, reset a bit, and the Freaks have to rethink their direction. Now things get a lot more challenging for the Freaks. Do you try to wrap north? Do you try to clean out Twisted Minds? If you go south, you're going to potentially have to fight through T1 or Luna Galaxy's held compound.
Meanwhile, the Freaks are also creeping up slowly and steadily onto T1. A couple more kills. They're just starting to rack them. T1 has to jump into vehicles. They're just sending it desperately right into the thick of everyone. It's going to be Na'Vi that gets vision on Hakatori on one side. A ton of damage out. Luna Galaxy's got vision on it as well. The rest of the members for T1 just having to dodge the vehicles of their down teammates, but they do manage to get in the safe zone just narrowly.
Wow, what an aggressive dive here, but we've seen what T1 can do, even with a couple players up. The Freaks are jumping into FaZe. They are getting torn apart. Gustav and Corexy combining to find a couple kills. Just 2 players left, and the Freaks are gone.
They are out. T1 manages to do what the Freaks could not. They pass through the gauntlet, narrowly surviving, but the T1 members still have to deal with Na'Vi right up on top of them.
Now it comes down to those close quarter combat fights. Na'Vi, though, catches type, trying to leave the building. Just hold the angle with that AK. That's a scary gun to go against in a close quarters battles like this. EN very, very weak right now. The grenade is out. It is going to catch him. A nice throw by Diffix. Type is weak. He's gone. T1, goodbye.
Okay, bit more of an opportunity. Twisted Minds clinging to life right now, right along the edge of the zone. The Expendables, though, they have control of everything in the north. They've even got vision on Twisted trying to crest up. They do manage to creep in. They are in the safe zone for now, but we've got 17 people alive, and this is a very weakened Twisted Minds.
They still have an opportunity to get deep into this game, though. They might be left unfettered on top of this hill. They found a little bit of an edge. They're taking a little bit of damage, though. FaZe in this dip. Grenades are just splashing past them. The Expendables have an opportunity to do something tremendous in this game. They've got 4 up. They could shoot up the leaderboard. I talked to Duck Juice today. I asked him, how you feeling? And he said, we're winning the championship. That's all he said.
And they play this so controlled for so long up over here into the north. 6 kills of their own. They fought tooth and nail to get into position and really exploited off of a couple of teams. Summer still alive for Petrichor Road. Just slowly creeps in, gets right back behind Na'Vi, hoping the fact that they'll just clear a path for him.
Yeah, this is a really nice position for Na'Vi as well. Get a little bit of high ground, get a little bit of information. It's just that solo player, that solo snake they have to deal with. FaZe still in this next circle, still trying to hold on. They're getting peppered a little bit by Na'Vi, but Navi's going to have to make a move.
And notice there are not 5 members on TE. Yeah, that other gray player is going to be Sparking from TSM, still alive, holding in position, and we know he can pop up at any given moment and pick up a couple of kills. So this could be a problem, as there is going to be a condense now onto TE.
This is going to be a really intense last couple of circles because of the extra factor of some of those solo players, those duos of Twisted Minds and FaZe as well. Going to have a big role to play in this for some of these other teams. Let's take a look at this replay of the spray from Hakatori. Ridiculous stuff. A great hold on the entry attempt by the Kwangdong Freaks. Still some kills for the Freaks. Still should be feeling pretty confident, I feel. They took some good fights early. They had a good game plan. Just couldn't find their way in. T1 as well, not really where they wanted to end up. Got cut down on the way through, and Na'Vi able to capitalize, hold their ground very nicely.
Top 3 down. 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. You have got to scrap to get every single point. These guys are so neck and neck right now. Any big moment, They're going to spot out one on top. It's going to be Lou that does take down Gustav. But once he does that, suddenly Na'Vi just spins back over to him. You can see Expendables as well opening up. Everybody just realizes, no, if you come over here, you are going to die.
I love this from the Expendables. They have set up a great line of fire to keep the teams in the West out of their territory. Doing a wonderful job so far this game, managing space, taking good fights. Twisted Minds here, gonna get some placement points, trying to see if they can sneak out a few extra. Tons of first aids in the bag still for Batu.
Summer still creeping up back behind Na'Vi while Na'Vi is focused on trying to push out Duck Juice, force him to regroup. He's just running right up against the blue zone wall, but he's got plenty of space to play with. It's a matter of just making sure he gets new open angles for his team to work with. He actually just switches back out, shifts down to the south after he breaks the sight line onto Na'Vi. We also do have Luna Galaxy that's been pretty quietly playing right along the coastline, or right along the road line, so slowly maneuvering over there as well. I mean, we've got two full squads that are looking like they're going to stack up right next to each other, and this could be a big problem.
This is shaping up to be a really intense last couple of circles. I mean, there's 7 teams alive, Matt.
Yeah, I know. God.
Can you believe it? We're almost phase 7.
We've got Batu still alive for Twisted. We've got Summer still alive for Petrichor Road and Sparking. Just in the thick of everything, while we've got Corexi right next to the Expendables as well. The Expendables have a lot of snakes next to them, and it makes me a bit worried.
Absolutely. They're going to have to be heads on swivels right now. Summer is going to finally succumb to the blue. That's extra placement points for Batu and Sparking. They're going to be very happy to continue to see these solo players dwindle. There's a brief moment there for Delwyn where he gets a little bit of damage into Na'Vi. Nothing substantial. This next circle, very keen to see where it goes. It's going to shift up towards TE. They have full control over this, but yes, we have to look at that player in the middle.
How are we going to see these angles come into play? Because you have to assume that Luna Galaxy is going to find some way to try to navigate up into the north using smokes. Na'Vi might be leaning into the hillside that also was just due north of them. So it's going to be 2 different collapse points that the Expendables are going to have to deal with, while Corexi and Sparking are just right on top of them. Can Batu even spot out anything at the end? Tries to go for just random shots, and he is going to go down.
Still, good salvage game for Twisted Minds. It keeps them very much in the conversation. Well played by them. Not the most favorable of situations to be dealt, and they handled it very, very nicely. Haven, they know that Corexi's out here. They know that FaZe was over in this dip, so it's grenades first right by the tree, but they're coming up short.
Trying to make sure that nobody's playing around the vehicle, so continuing the path forward, has to be careful as the nade's gonna land, but that is really good. Corexi just narrowly gets away from it. Still staying a thorn in Luna Galaxy's side. Blind sprays into the smokes aren't going to connect, but this is just more and more information for TE. They hear this, they know where the shots are coming in from, so they don't even have to go for the peak. They're just letting everybody fight amongst themselves.
This is really nice stuff from Luna in this first game. I mean, it hasn't been the best finals for them, but to come through, have a big start, they could really shoot up the leaderboard. It is not too far from them up into that top 8. So a big win here could propel them into a lot of extra cash. Corexi trying to play the edge of the blue, letting loose with some mollies, but Posa finally takes him out.
Okay, using that opportunity, it's going to be Na'Vi that jumps into vehicles. They just shift over as fast as possible. Roll in. Good shots from Hakatori. Get the down onto Duck Juice. Also a quick flush. Delwyn also down. Na'Vi suddenly turning the script, instantaneously using the distraction of the firefight in the west.
And still, Sparking remained in the middle, but Na'Vi, what a great timing there. Some cover fire for their maneuver. Has TE scrambling, and Luna's trying to take advantage. Prone down, trying to get the shots, and finally Haven connects.
Gotta be careful if Calories is still alive. He's got vision on Vinny, and he does get the knock on it. Sparking still holding down in his position. It's gonna be Diffex that goes for the peek around, finally removes the snake in the middle, but it's gonna be Na'Vi just swooping down from the south, instantly collapsing onto Calories' position. Luna Galaxy still playing out in the smokes, has got to be so careful. They have so little information on this rotate. There you go. Quickly picked up. The Expendables are eliminated.
Na'Vi now on the hunt to finish this game. 2 members of Luna trying to find some kind of cover. Whole bunch of damage done to Posa. Stuns are now beginning to rain out across both ends, but Posa isn't going to do it. Na'Vi's going to take the first game of the day.
Big kill count, great performance, walking through a ton of squads, solid defense in the south, and they really exploited the fights going on around it. I love the heady play and the shift in from the east right there at the end.
No, absolutely. I mean, this was so well played from the beginning to the end by Na'Vi, controlling that edge, controlling teams, trying to take their territory. Never got caught by any of those solo snakes. The setup for those fights at the end, absolutely brilliant.
I mean, but you also do have to give it to the Expendables, man. They had one hell of a run there. They were everybody's enemy, and they held it together for so long. So many different angles that they were having to deal with. They were very aware of how all of the rotation pathings were going on around them. This is just the start to the day for PGC, so you know it is going to be absolutely phenomenal as we continue to move forward on this one. It's going to be a great day. We still have another Miramar. We've got a ton of games. Let's get them ready to go.
Touted as one of the pundits' favorites to try and strike out for the whole thing. It's not quite gone their way, but they start off day number 3 in the grand final absolutely flying. In an abnormal circle, we don't really get them over here too much, but Na'Vi's able to capitalize on it strong.
I honestly don't remember the last time that I played, let alone saw a final circle by North Beach. Everybody was kind of caught off guard by those shifts. That said, Na'Vi, all I can say is, where have you been? Everyone who's watching and plays Fantasy had these players on their team, has expected them to be a top 5, and it has been a disappointment in the first 2 days of the grand final. But this was the Na'Vi that I was hoping to see, and I hope it continues.
This is exactly the Na'Vi that were after 2024's performance.
Yeah.
But day 1 they had 22 points. Yesterday they had 20. Here though, they started, and this is the push. This is the way into the top 4. This is the way into potentially doubling or more your prize pool share.
Day 3 at a PGC, Na'Vi decides to make a move from the jump. Sure, it's a different roster, but at the end of the day, the brand's got some power behind it. And I wonder if they woke up this morning and their coach and their team was like, do you know who's on your jersey? You guys got to go out there and get going. And they did, so kudos to them. That said, weird circle. So that is one of those you kind of have to give anomaly there for some of like T1 and KIDF going out early, because no one plans for that.
The only major slip up across 2024 really was that PG6, and aside from that, it was...
It's tried a different strategy. It's the fluke.
Exactly.
It's the one-off.
Well, for a little while, it was going to end up being this grand final that was another one-off, but it'll be a second off. But no, it doesn't look like it. They're going to be able to try and fight back here to start off the day and trying to deal with this. I mean, I like their move into the fields to deal with the rest of the threats that are there, because you've got the Expendables set up, trying to hold that down, and Na'Vi was not afraid at all.
Even though it's a hard circle to kind of get out of, they maximize obviously because of the position that they had early on, right? But still, this was kind of the start we were hoping for in terms of the top teams. They kind of got stopped a little bit. It felt a little bit like their other teams were like, oh, this is one of the top 3 teams. This is one of the teams we need to stop for us to have a chance to take the win.
There was a little bit of us cheering behind the scenes, being like, kill
a little bit.
Kill. But not because we don't want them to win, just because we'd love to see even more join that top pack.
I would love to see T1 this event. That said,
But in the last game.
Yes, exactly. I'm going to cheer against it until we get to that point, because I love seeing those races, and I love seeing teams really go after it. So seeing both of our top, actually all 3 of our top teams go out so quickly is huge news and a big boost for Lobby. I mean, there was a moment there where I thought Expendables were about to enter the race. They had such a good spot on that north side. If they had come out with the win, they'd be up in there.
One of the most exciting tournaments for me to work and to watch was PGS5. You know, when there was 2 or 3 teams in the very last game that were fighting for those precious points, right? Teams that were fighting each other directly. And in the midst of things, you know, getting 1 or 2 or more kills, I was literally on the edge of my seat, and that's what I'm hoping to see here as well. Because this year has really been a resurgence for so many teams. It's been the comeback for some other teams. And for me, this year so far has really been the most competitive year we have had in PUBG esports history for a very long time. There's so many teams that potentially could take home the global championship. Sure, there's been some teams that kind of put themselves head and shoulders a little bit above the rest, but the potential is there. We saw it in the circuit. We saw it through PGS's throughout the year. And so far, we've also been seeing it in the grand final.
And we don't even have Sonic or Cerberus in this grand final
Which is
either,
crazy.
Which is crazy to think about. But Na'Vi, 11 kills goes their way. The Expendables had a lot of this area on lockdown for a good while. We saw mortars, we saw shots, we saw everything from there. Through the kitchen sink at the rest of this lobby, but weren't able to quite get the victory.
Expendables likes mortars the way that T1 likes emergency pickups. They always seem to have one stuck in a trunk somewhere and are just dropping mortars on people. It was a hard win for them. That north side where they were, they didn't have a lot of options to come out of it. They went through 16 smokes to make sure they could sort of maintain some of their fights without being third-partied. But Na'Vi, they're going to come out. Let's take a look at their stats. Hackatory, 6-6. And then Diffex, yesterday we were talking about he needs to turn on for this team to really go the distance. He steps up with 4 kills. He's been so strong in the circuit stages and just kind of seems like he had lost that pace. Well, they're back up and running, and I love the way that they played sort of control in that game.
So for me, there's 2 things in this, right? We know Na'Vi kind of want to play a different play style that they've been used to in terms of they are currently playing Edge, but look what they can do when they have the circle. Look what they can do when they have high priority. Hackatory, though, for the man of the match, 6 kills, almost 1,000 damage, guys. What a game for them. And that makes me a little bit excited for them for next year, because if they're able to force through and kind of adopt and commit, because that's really the big thing. You need to commit for months, potentially more than half a year, for a strategy before it kind of really works through. That'll be huge. 21 points, actually the exact same average that they had the last previous 2 days. They averaged 21 points in a day. Here they get it in the first match.
So on to that point, Alrain said that they want this year to be the one where like people start to go, oh, it's you guys, and that lets them throw those elbows, right?
Right.
This is the kind of game they needed to have. After the circuit final the last 2 days, they weren't going to get that. I do also want to give a shout out to them because they are the team that had the wherewithal to go after T1 and eliminate them in that lost position. They took that risk and come out with a pretty good payoff.
Well, now Na'Vi moves up into 10th place with that, and up towards the top, though, we have a closer race. I mean, there were moments in this game, Martin, where there were pop-offs. I mean, Quantum Freaks, I think, had themselves a few kills, like quite significantly. We were like, where it's happening again, but not fully happening just yet.
Expendables also getting a little bit of points there. 14 points only from 3rd place right now. Again, once we get into that top 4, that's where it really gets funny, right? 4th place, $100,000, 6 figures for it. Gets very close here. Still, FaZe can also one more good game. They could contest Twisted Minds, but again, it needs to happen now. If they leave it until the last few games, it's not going to be enough to catch. And still, these teams here, huge jumps. Once you get into the top 8, once you get into the top 4, so much difference in prize pool.
Absolutely. I do think that that is it. You got to make that move now. Twisted Minds is not going to be happy with the amount of points they walked away with on that game. Expendables, I think they will. But this is where it has to happen this time, especially because T1 is so scrappy. We saw yesterday they were like a cat with 29 lives somehow, because every time that they would get hunted on a high ground, they'd jump on a bike, they'd go into a city, they'd fight their way out, and there was always 1 or 2 of them that found a way to get into that big 8 so they could start to pull in points. We saw it happen here again. So remember, no matter what your gain is, T1 is going to be putting distance between you. So Twisted Minds, I think, has to come out. They have to get way more aggressive than we saw them so far in these grand finals and start to hunt those points. But I'll tell you what, yesterday Scoom told me in the lobby when I walked by, he said, I think T1's going to regret giving those points to Twisted Minds, and I'm a little worried that 3 of those teams up at the top may regret having those 2 points go that way.
Well, even if it doesn't cost you the championship, there's the potential with all these guys now trying to kind of hound for your position. It could cost you a 2nd or a 3rd place if you do fall a little further, because it will end up being close, I would suspect, Martin.
Yeah, difference from 4th to 3rd, 20,000. Next one is 30,000. Huge jumps, right? You don't want to give away points.
All right, well, time to do one more Miramar for these teams who are good at it to scramble for those points. That was a crazy circle in the previous one. It's time for the Dusty Dunes one more time for the PGC Grand Finals.
Are you ready for the last Miramar of 2024? They have been spicy all year, and it is time. Let us go. Plane path all the way up in the northwest, going to be ending up due south of Los Leones.
Yeah, looking at a very different plane path to start out this last Miramar than what we got previously. So maybe we're going to get something a little bit more central, a little bit more towards the middle of the map. Going to be curious to see again, you know, how our teams like Twisted Minds going to approach this game, how our teams like Virtus Pro going to be coming at this one, because their normal drop spot of Truck Stop quite a bit further, so they're going to have to potentially go here for their alt drop spot. Fortunately for them, BB Team does drop Cobra AD up most of the time, and they might have the resort open for themselves. The Freaks going to be going past 17, of course, and T1 has Chumacera with EF relatively close.
What weird world are we in where you're focused on Twisted Minds and I'm all caught up in the freaks, man? This is absolutely crazy. I love this PGC so far. There's so much still on the table, but it's a matter of just who can clutch up when they have to. We saw a slow creep up with the freaks, kind of closing the gap, just barely. But now T1, what can you do with the pathing around? Still having to deal with EF. They've been a couple of problems for him to deal with early, but managed to get the vehicle, managed to get away. EF going to shift in, and Circle, pretty favorable for a lot of these teams.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of what you were maybe looking at the beginning of this game to see a central circle. And it has a lot of directions that it can still go, of course. Still keeping an eye on EN, you know, with Eternal Fire wanting to contest that church. That's to the east of Chumacera. That's made the drop spot a little bit more difficult for Team 1. Might slow up their rotations just a little bit. Hasn't been something that has really seemingly affected them. But Halo sparking! Hello, goodbye 4AM.
Sparking, mad that he didn't get a shoot enough in that last game, comes out and picks up 2, and 4 Angry Men yet again on Miramar at the start, taking casualties.
Twisted Minds so aggressive in the early part of this game. You love to see it. They know they need a lot of points here today to have a shot at that championship, and they are hunting this 4AM squad who's seemingly reeling from these early aggressive maneuvers. Don't really have any response this time around. In fact, Luke even keeping track of the remaining 4AM players, making sure that they're going to stand pat and that TSM can go back to their looting phase.
Oh, it's just damage control coming out from 4 Angry Men in these early skirmishes, man. They just have to play so much on the back foot. So even whenever it feels like something might start to generate for them, they can't even enter the game, it almost feels like. They've got TSM on one side that has no fear of them. Then they've got the freaks that are on the other side. Then Twisted Minds right up on top of them. Well, we got ourselves EN, who has absolutely been ending people all over the place.
원래 다들 잘하던 선수들이라고 생각했고, 사실 이번에 소닉 감독님께서 오셔가지고 이제 저희의 이제 심리적인 부분을 이제 좀 많이 이제 좀 좋은 방향으로 이제 바꿔주셔가지고 이제 다들 그런 부담감이 떨어지니까 본 실력을 발휘하고 있다고 생각합니다. 사실 예상은 못했었고요. 저희가 근데 그래도 항상 우승을 목표로 플레이하고 있었기 때문에 지금 많이 좀 벅찬 기분이 좀 들긴 하지만 방심하지 않고 일단 최대한 우승을 목표로 플레이할 생각입니다.
I love this from T1, from EN, hearing about the difference that Sonic has made, and it's all a mental game for them. And that's absolutely what I think if you just kind of watch the way they play, the way they take fights, the way they maneuver themselves, it is definitely a much more aggressive, confident team than we saw in the beginning part of this year. And certainly bringing in a new coach like that has a huge role to play in that. You got to give a ton of credit to the players as well for stepping up, for understanding what their coach is trying to explain to them and executing it so well.
This is just such a smart team now. I mean, beforehand, they could make some big plays here or there, but it was just very inconsistent. We've seen time and time again a very methodical pick strategy coming up, finding a kill, specifically in the earlier stages of maps where people just aren't prepared for it, and that has just constantly given them more and more motivation. It's really cemented in their mental. Every single time they performed one of these little smart plays that had been set up by it was Sonic, has given them just so much more motivation to continue to move forward and find the next big play.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's so encouraging to see players like EN, Zenith, and Reigning, longtime veterans of PUBG in Korea who have been around since, 2020, 2019 in some cases. So there are players who really have been stepping up, who've been peaking at the perfect moment as well. We've seen just how good EN can be when he is in full form. Not only is he leading this squad as an IGL, but he's leading as a fragger again, back like I saw in 2021.
Well, he's not leading the squad right now. Apparently that interview stalled him out, and he's got VP players all around him. Nixie's specifically going to be holding him out, but I think he might be able to escape. I think he's managed to get in a vehicle and can kind of skate around Chumacera and should be able to regroup.
I think he's okay. Yeah, it was a bit of an awkward start, but the good news is the rest of T1 has gotten into a pretty decent scouting position, can take some space towards that southern edge, can at least figure out how they want to approach the next zones. There has been an emergency pickup popped for TSM out of San Martin. They're looking to maybe get a good drop spot somewhere. Kind of curious where they want to go. It's pretty early. The blue zone really isn't anywhere near collapsing yet. It still has a couple minutes left, so that is going to be something I am very curious about, especially with the Freaks starting to crest this hill. They might get a look at this at least.
Man, we've seen so many circles over here next to San Martin, it feels like, this event. So players should be pretty familiar with how all the rotations are going to go. I mean, dude, he's just so good. That's all you can say. Sparking is just a continually brewing superstar that is just, I don't think that we've hit his ceiling yet, and I cannot wait until we see whenever he does.
Absolutely. No, I mean, I think this is a moment for him where Sparking can step up for TSM today and get them in championship contention. He's a player of that caliber. We know he's capable of it. Could be his moment. Clories as well, a superstar for the Expendables, has Jeems relatively close. They're going to be within spitting distance of each other with that motorcycle there. Certainly Clories heard Jeems come up. There's that TSM drop. Curdy takes some damage on the way down. Looks like it was just used to gain a little bit of information.
How much information can you grab whenever like 15 people shoot at you at the same time? It's like, guys, they're just everywhere. I don't know what else to tell you.
Ooh, but now they're surrounded. There's a knock from Perfectix onto Alo. The TSM opts to go just a little bit further forward out of San Martin. And they're taking some damage. It's going to be some vests and helmets potentially beat up, as well as going to have to chew through a few extra meds.
And Belmoth just right here on top of him as well. Belmoth not having a chance to regroup with the rest of his squad just quite yet, so we'll have to see if they commit in. But he's just beated into that line and hoping that nobody from TSM makes a maneuver over towards him. We also do have a potential situation going on with a wrap way over into the northeast, as it is going to be Na'Vi rotating pretty close to 4 Angry Men, but that's kind of about it. Most teams just opting into a pretty decent centered position, pretty strong. A lot of verticality, so that's going to be the name of the game, is a lot of people are just going to be trying to exploit this for as long as possible. Most notably, we can see FaZe holding that position.
And it seems like Na'Vi maybe not exactly aware. They're kind of just taking their time, using the top edge of that mountain to do a little scouting. Not sure if they really saw 4AM or not. Kind of curious if they're going to want to. Well, now they know, because Godby is going to open up with some shots towards Hakatori. Hakatori's just going to hit the gas pedal, push it a little bit further forward. Should be okay. In fact, he even hits a shot onto Godby there.
Think about the range on that and the sneaky angle that we saw him playing from, and to read that, man, he was shooting at pixels.
Yeah, he's just that good. He's just that good. We saw it in the first game. You know, shades a little bit of 2022 Na'Vi, where they come out on the final day and get a win. A bit of a different situation, of course, quite a bit further outside of the lead, but definitely a team that can still strike fear into the hearts of their opponents. And they are now just kind of circling, just waiting to see, is 4AM going to try to make any maneuvers? Are they going to be able to catch them trying to rotate out of that compound potentially?
No. 4 Angry Men, I feel, is just like, please leave us alone. That's the only reason they took those shots. We just want a second, man. It's been hard. This has been a rough day off the get-go, so I think that we are going to see Na'Vi, they at least, finally going to have everybody regroup and hop inside of a vehicle, so they're going to go ahead and cut their path in. We still got a couple more seconds before everything kind of unites in and we find out where the new circle is going to go, but most of our teams in that centered position playing much further down into the south. We don't have a lot playing around Crater Fields. El Pozo entirely open. San Martin really only has day trade in it, and you can only say kind of, because let's not forget Belmoth is over there next to TSM.
Yeah, the Freaks have a 2-2 split on the San Martin Mountains. Just trying to get info. Twisted Mind's going to be controlling Power Grid, as you would expect. A couple teams not too far away. 17, the Falcons, not too far off. And the Freaks going to start making their way down the hill, looking for opportunities to make another rotation. Not sure what kind of vehicles they're going to have available. Okay, there is a Murado here for Gumin, so there is escape valves if this does hard shift away from them. Second circle. Where do we go? Center up, okay.
Okay, so odd teams out are going to be Na'Vi, 4 Angry Men, Petrichor Road already regrouping, getting inside the circle. VP is going to have to deal with EF pretty close to him, so it could be a problem. T1 making their rotation right next to the Falcons. A couple of bullets going to be exchanged between them. Meanwhile, Luna already has to make their shift over. It looks like they are going to be eyeing a bit more in that northerly fashion, while T1, all they have to do is just regroup. So we are going to have a couple of areas that the teams can navigate for the time being, but VP making a very dangerous cross right now could be problematic, but they're using Petrichor Road as a shield the entire path through.
Absolutely. Just going to let them kind of give the information over of what teams are going to be shooting at them from where. Falcon 17 now starting to try to light them up, but VP already pretty quick. Going to be able to get past those initial firing lines. it's just going to be the Expendables or maybe Petrichor Road that you have to contest with, but they're going to continue on. They like what they see in front of them. With the Biza and Beamy leading the way, might be able to find themselves a decent spot potentially. Petrichor Road under fire, Summer knocked.
That's going to be example coming alive there. Lots of information to work with. They just saw this roll right past him. It is also going to be Ming. Looks like he's going to do a bit of a wider wrap around, maybe seeing if he can find some way to defend or find an angle to do something here. What's his options? Looks like he is going to crest in, he is going to stop, and he is going to try to see if he can get a backstab on this. But if anything, he's a good distraction. Twisted Minds now has to deal with a much closer range threat, but I mean, example, just no. He's just like, no, that's not going to happen. Xleft was maneuvering over here like he wanted to come after it and then just stopped in his tracks like, well, that's not going to happen anymore.
I mean, you're seeing the current best player in the world just strut his stuff right there, taking down that attempted, kind of wrap around, just like you said, it's exactly what it was. It's a distraction there for Petrichor Road to make sure they can get that res. Instead, Twisted Minds is able to take that player away from Petrichor Road. They're down to 3. Left as well, trying to flank out, trying to maybe provide a little cover, but all he really has is this Murado inside of this ditch to work with. Not going to be the most favorable position in the world. It's going to be T1 going into Montana Nuevo, slow and steady to start. Early game is all about information right now for them. They're looking at what some of these other teams are doing. I think they've got a pretty decent idea of the Falcons players that are going to be to their north. Maybe a little bit of info on Luna Galaxy and Eternal Fire as well. So for now, it's just trying to navigate this scenario, seeing if they can find a moment to get into that next circle. You can see what they're looking at in the bottom right-hand corner, kind of setting up their next ideas, their next strategies for their attacks.
You hit on a great point a moment ago as well. We've got TE pretty much center in the side of this circle, running a 2-1-1, wide separated split, a lot of control that they're going to get, a lot of vision. If we see teams having to rotate through this corridor, it is going to be bloody, and they are going to try to pounce on every single thing that has to roam by them. VP, they did have the benefit of being a bit closer into center ahead of Petrichor Road and doesn't have to deal with Twisted. All of this is just going down right in Twisted's backyard, and they are not happy about it. Old angry men on the porch. Get off our lawn.
Get off our lawn, absolutely. They don't want anyone near that power grid. Zenith just going to be looking for a new vehicle and has one. So that's good there. Going to be cycling that gas, cycling the damage on those vehicles, tires maybe. Potentially get beat up along the way as well. So that's a really nice find for T1 to kind of continue their maneuvering. They're likely to have to make a couple more at the very least.
Where are we going?
Wow.
Ooh, shifts up into the northeast. Day Trade in great position. BB as well. So, FaZe, they've got control over that lower position inside of the ravine. Outlier teams we have to look at are going to be the Freaks, 17. Twisted Minds, even having to regroup, that position isn't very good. Falcons going to have to find a pathing of their own. T1 that we just saw get a new vehicle, going to be put to good use, but they're going to be driving right through that TE hold that we were talking about just a moment ago. Luna Galaxy should have some pretty easy pathing as they're just going to be heading up into the north.
Oh, and that's a big point for Lucarux and Virtus Pro. Going to take Chewy down from Petrichor Road. So Summer and Aches left, still trying to find some way to survive here. They took a dangerous position. T1 as well, trying to cut ahead of some of these other teams. This is classic Sonic. This is classic Donawa. He loves these hills where Day Trade is, but they've got a nice 2-2 split already set up.
Day Trade, you have to be careful. You're about to get some new friends. So with this, T1 finds at least a stopover position for the time being. Nobody shooting at them from that point. They realize, okay, how do we want to maneuver in? They're going to just go ahead and play this lower section of this area. Shots going to be coming out from Day Trade, but not going to be enough to really stop him just yet. Eon on almost no life. Finally does get knocked, but it's going to be Jeans. Beautiful angle. Kalori steals it away, though.
Yeah, Ian going down is a big loss for T1. He's been so instrumental in their games. Finally, the smokes come down to try to make sure the Type can get into those shacks, get into safety. 17 cutting right ahead of the Kwangdong Freaks. Twisted Minds going to be watching the trailing member of 17, trying to take Xiaobei out. He's taking some damage. You can see it down on the bottom. Yep, he is going to get cut down.
17, I mean, they do have a couple of ridges that they can play, but it's not going to feel too good off of it. But Tulins actually gets knocked by Bean, so that's going to be a pretty hefty lineup against each other, but I think that could probably be Resbul. It looks like the Freaks aren't really focused in on trying to get the flush, so 17 does manage to get in a point, but now you've got to deal with Na'Vi, who is just coming off of an amazing last game.
You don't see Bean with a bolt every day. Definitely a little bit.
Roth? You in the wrong neighborhood, buddy.
This is scary. And it's none other than this guy that you're going to be potentially going up against. You have Perfectix watching the outside of the building. He can provide some of that extra info potentially. It's going to come down to these sound cues.
Uh-oh, steps in. Gotta be careful with it. And see, just hiding out. There's a ton of armors also just right underneath Example. So with the distracting shots going out, that is going to be good. Snakers does get the knock on to Perfectix, trying to go for the flush. Are we going to see Example use this opportunity to strike? He's patient, man. He doesn't think it's good enough just quite yet. Here comes reinforcements. Roth going to go ahead and throw the nade out. It's going to be pretty long out there. Depends on how the bounce is going to come into play. Example now getting more information. Is he going to step out? No, he's going to strike. Finds one, lines in. Can he get the second one? The railing eats most of the bullets. He cannot connect, but now there is a snake in the grass right on top of the Falcons, and they are caught unaware. VP's Beanie also getting close. Flood, though, takes down Example.
That is some disgusting shooting from Flood. That is not an easy angle to get that knock. And Twisted Minds, I don't think there's much they can do at this point. They're trying to barricade. They're trying to send in some grenades from the outside of the compound, but still they're going to have to go for another res as Batu. Here comes the Kwangdong Freaks.
More points to be had. Can we see the Freaks backstab this well enough? They spotted out Lude. Shots go out, but Perfectix shuts it down. So Lude already knocked off the start. The superstar in trouble as Twisted Minds getting picked and pulled from so many different directions, cementing in some defense finally and realizing they have an opportunity for a big game if they can unite.
Yeah, and the Expendables are really doing some hefty damage to Virtus Pro off screen here, but this fight's so important. Bean gonna take Perfectix down with his AUG. Batulins and Lu, the last two alive. Rello getting involved against the Kwangdong Freaks, trying to find some way to get back up to 4. Maybe disengage from this fight, but they've done a good job of at least not losing any players yet.
I mean, I don't even know where Twisted can go. They're just so back against the wall right now. Falcons have drawn a lot of attention to themselves, so they've got to be cautious. TE is also kind of shifted into a position over here. Let's not forget Petrichor Road Summer still alive. Exlift taking some shots. It's going to be 17 very close to them, so the Freaks can kind of regroup, but they're going to have to deal with Na'Vi pretty close, right up on top of them. And it's going to be Hakatori, who's been having some amazing games.
Yeah, no doubt about it that Hakatori can be a difference maker in a snap of a finger.
There's Beamy.
Yep, the shots are ringing out. Beamy continues his reign of destruction here in the grand finals. Shots ringing out. Kwangdong Freaks taking damage. Can they get through unscathed?
It's going to be Falcons that do manage to take down Beamy, so still alive, but they're going to have to deal with the Expendables right next to him. Freaks do manage to make landfall right into a bit of a dip. So with Exlev now down, this is going to be way more open to deal with. There's a very weakened 17 right up the hillside from them, but I don't think that they know it. Are they going to use this opportunity to step in? They should hear the firefight at any time now. Are they going to step in? Do they feel comfortable enough? Do they want the points enough? But it looks like it's just going to be a regroup. 17 on the other side. Well, they're getting harassed by Na'Vi.
Well, yeah, the nice thing right now for the Freaks is that 17 is absorbing all the damage from the squads that were to the east. So they were able to cut right underneath their noses. Once they got past Na'Vi's firing lines, they were good to go. A huge fight potentially brewing down in the southern end of the circle. There was Luna and Eternal Fire scraping way out in the blues. A Kraken pulled way off of that fight. He's going to rotate into the current circle. 4AM's 2 players still up, still have a role to play in this. BB team up on the north has control of one of the few compounds left in this circle.
Uh-oh, Twisted, Rello just waiting. Peeks between the two. Twisted goes down. They have managed to pick up some points, but is it enough? They're still 10 points behind the top 3. Heaven doing a great job. Gets the knock on a Little Ghost. Kwangdong Freaks doing a great job on defense.
Yeah, but they couldn't get the point. It's going to be Daytrade who's able to find that flush onto Lil Ghost. So Suju, last player alive for 17 Gaming, has Hakatori relatively close, but he's taking a bunch of damage from a doozy from BB Team. Still has that mountaintop in the circle currently before the blue is going to force him out. Suju just going to be quiet, just going to try to wait, just going to try to find his opportunity to get a few extra points, to get whatever he can.
We also have a massive fight brewing down to the south with our leader right now in T1. They still have Belmont that's pretty close to him, but the Expendables as well as TSM all need to make a path into the circle, and it's going to be right on top of T1 with Daytrade combining forces to try to hold this line. But the Expendables, man, these guys can absolutely pop off. If they get a knock, they will push it. But keep in mind, with TSM's position, it's made it so awkward. Neither team can move, and it's led to this mutually assured destruction situation where neither one can find a path to kind of creep their way in. But big shot coming up from Hakatori. Gonna get the knock on the salute. Is the nade gonna connect and take him out? Bounce goes a bit far, so that's gonna be at least something. Is the next one gonna connect? Will salute go down?
That is looking good to me. That's going to get the flush. Hakatori had 2 grenades. That's what he needed to finish off the big fragger from the Kwangdong Freaks. Still some work to do here in defense, and still some work for Na'Vi to do to get fully into this next circle. Some danger close players in there. Suju from 17. The Freaks as well have some players. TSM doing a good job defending against the Expendables on the southern side. T1 just kind of watching those fights, just waiting to see what the results are going to be. Heaven and Bean, tons of smokes having to be expended here to keep themselves from just getting absolutely annihilated by Na'Vi. The sightlines are phenomenal on this downhill slope.
This is all contained over to the east for the time being. BB also kind of creeping up in here, but we've seen Hakatori. He spotted out 1. He's got to be careful, though. There is still that 17 member off to the side. The moment he gets spotted, he could absolutely unload on a flanked position in Na'Vi. Good nade coming out from Diffex. Are we going to see anything more come from it? It looks like Freaks just having to defend another nade. It's a good follow-up, and now the Freaks in a ton of trouble.
Na'Vi has came to play, and they are just roasting teams here on this southeast corner. BB still harassing a little bit. And here goes Hakatori. Right next to Suju. Suju's gonna end him while he's trying to loot the corpse of one of his teammates. Diffix spraying into TSM. They're trying to find some entry into the next circle. Those God compounds still just barely in on the southern edge. Meanwhile, FaZe and T1 dusting up, and T1 hasn't really found much. They've got 1 player up. It's Type. Zenith way out in the open. He's knocked. He's likely out.
Guys, at the top of the leaderboard, down to 1 apiece, but VP, Twisted, TE have all fallen. TSM finding a ton of kills, might have an opportunity in this one, but Type just took so much damage. FaZe Clan now knows exactly where he is. I mean, FaZe Clan and Daytrade just have this absolutely on lock. Type is just having to creep forward. He can't even really go for shots because every single time he looks over, he's just gonna take a ton of damage. And now, even the circle unites against him. Going to shift a bit further into the north. TSM on one side, FaZe on the other, Daytrade on the high ground. How is he gonna get out of this?
Yeah, this looks like a nice game for FaZe, though. If they can keep any teams from wrapping to their north, they're gonna have so much control over this western side. Don't want to take any of those solo players as Nox. Gustav and Corexi going to be spread out there to make sure that no one's going to be able to take that territory. Gumin does take Diffix down. He's been able to crawl his way underneath Daytrade's nose, find a good angle onto Diffix, but these grenades really need to connect, and Diffix on an awkward angle on that hill, they might not make it.
Just can't find it just quite yet. Getting some damage, but every point right now matters. Just 8 points separating out these 2 squads. Even just surviving because we're presently in 8 teams remaining. Placement points could be a major factor, but Gumin just starts to realize he wants to go for the kill point instead. Good shots on Sosit. Gonna maneuver him away from the angle. Phil first gets the shots into Fairest from behind and provides an opportunity for Gumin.
A BB team providing cover fire unintentionally for Gumin, but Sosid with 1 frag grenade and a dream.
Oh, how's the roll? Somehow he survives that. And now Na'Vi has a problem in front of him. It's going to be TSM swooping in from a new angle. And if they do not right this quick enough, TSM might try to exploit.
Absolutely is an opportunity. That blue zone, though, going to flush Gumin a little bit out of position. Looks like he's just going to choose to heal through it. Going to take it, try to see if he can confuse his opponents a little bit by sticking in that position. Now, we have TSM pushing up the hill, and they've wiped Na'Vi out.
9 kills and climbing for TSM. They came into this mad. Purdy Curdy at 2 and Sparking with a ton. Now shifting into a higher ground position. They should be able to spot out Human, but it is a very vulnerable peak. There's going to be a ton of teams that could get vision, but it looks like BB is very focused on what's going to be going on with Daytrade for the time being. FaZe just going to be playing the west of that. Type has managed to weather the storm and creep in. Human lines in, but Purdy Curdy shuts it down.
And Purdy Curdy's going to let him know it, too. Put some shots into Gumin's body, and he's starting to feel it here. Him and Sparking, phenomenal as a duo right now. Type has survived. He has made it further into the placement points. He has a lot of work to do, though. FaZe and Daytrade keenly aware of his position. I've been seeing tons of shots coming out from both of those squads. That's the only frag he has. He's just not sure if somebody's on the other side of that hill or not, just being diligent about trying to clear some space. But there is no one really close to him because the angles that FaZe and Daytrade have means that once he goes on the outside of that hill in whatever direction, he is likely dead.
I mean, they don't need to be up close to him right now. Just look at this. They've got that entire area completely shifted. There are presently 4, 5 different players looking at him across 2 different teams. So TSM right on that edge position that they just took from the Freaks. Going to be pretty strong, can survive for a while off of it. It's just going to be 4 Angry Men's Bobo still alive that's going to have to find a way to sneak into the circle.
Really, this is going to come down to who can control their edge better. BB Team on the north, FaZe on the west, Daytrade on the south, TSM with a duo, still a very pivotal role to play. Type has that sawed off, but just loading up those guns, getting ready, and Flash is not really interested in letting him go anywhere. Absolutely the right play here for Daytrade. Don't let that top dog team go anywhere.
But he's survived. He's at least bought some more placements off of it. So if he can get anything more, maybe even survive out Bobo, it could buy him something else. Any distance that you can get at the top of this leaderboard as it's going to get just more hot and heavy as the day goes forward is vital. And T1 doing a great job of clutching up, realizing the vulnerabilities on where we have the Freaks down, where VP is down. The new question is, can the new contenders in TSM get enough points to rival the top?
Yeah, for Type now, it's just the waiting game. But he's on the worst edge of the circle compared to Bobo, so he might not be able to survive and much longer. 6th place might be all he gets. TSM has an edge. Everybody else pretty much in the circle other than Bobo and Type. They're the only 2 players who have anything to worry about, so it is just going to be a few extra first aids for Type. Flash looking for the point. Type, though.
That's so annoying. He can see it, but he just knows he cannot get the angle in on it just quite yet. Trying to med in. Is he going to have anything else to work with? No, there you go. T1 is eliminated, but let's not forget the threat looming down in FaZe. 4 members up, 86 points, nipping on the heels right back behind TSM. Could manage to usurp both the Expendables and Twisted Minds both off of a good game.
Now TSM 22 points away from first place. They are making a phenomenal run here in this game, despite some really bad situations. Bobo, nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Fex has got him down. Corexy dusting it up with BB Team. Takes the worst end of that. The SLR for Gustav has BB underneath his purview, but that AWM for a doozy could be disaster for TSM.
That is a hazardous peak to say the least. See how we see the shifts coming out. You can see slowly creeping over here. BB Team's back up. Has to shift away from this. They don't know exactly how the approach is going to be, but it's going to be Fex walking in, sneaking along this line. Phil First already knows, but he's going to have to go big into it. It's going to be a good defense coming up from Phil First. Fex going to go down. FaZe in some trouble. The circle even shifts into this direction. FaZe now has to figure out the pathing. Do they want to go for a fight in a disadvantaged situation? Gustav trying to see if he can at least get a counter knock with a nade. Not going to be able to find it. Airburst grenades going off right next to him. FaZe knows that they need to find a path into the circle. Nothing is going to be clean. BB has so much of it under control for the time being, and Phil First doing such a great job on defense.
Yeah, this is a really nice read from BB. They've got some kind of awareness that FaZe was going to be coming their way. The grenades were on point, the spray as well from Phil First, able to pre-aim, even though Fex did a ton of damage and a great reaction. Wasn't enough. FaZe going to lose that player, and they continue to try to make this wrap, but now there's going to be some damage potentially coming from Daytrade as well as they try to break apart BB's western flank.
And while this is going on, Spyro has to stay focused down into TSM's position. They know that there was a firefight going on over there. They don't know whenever the approach is going to happen. And so BB, realizing that there are so many threats that they have to contend with, Daytrade has themselves a valid good position to be playing from for the time being and a lot of vision. But they can't really see these firefights. You can see that the way the hills are set up, so that's why they can't really join in. They managed to win the firefights down in the compounds where a ton of teams had already crashed, so they're still alive. But Spyro now spotted out too, feeds that information over. How is BB going to defend up? They have to deal with FaZe so close. They just have to commit it. It's all going to be on Spyro. He has to hold this himself.
You've got Belmoth maybe who might get involved up on the hill for Daytrade. He's on TSM duty right now. Flash harassing FaZe as they try to flank around, try to find a way to get through that valley over towards BB Team to try to get into the next zone. Flash there gets a quick brief look at Corexy. Corexy, though, able to prone down. The real question is here, with only 2 smokes left, FaZe, how much further can they go before they're just cut apart between these 2 teams?
Every single angle that they want to go for just keeps getting denied. There's nothing to really work with in this low ground area. Slowly phasing out. And there you go. FaZe, man, it's just so harsh. They are absolutely in a kill box down there. Sparking does manage to creep forward a bit further. Belmoth might be able to get some plays around this with a doozy, realizing that there's an opportunity to pounce. Creeping forward, gonna be stepping in. He just saw that throw, so he has an idea on where they're gonna be at. Luzo nade lands right on top of him. gonna weather it for the time being. Gustav gonna use it, shift away, and I don't think that Aduzi saw it, but it's gonna be Day Trade that does manage to get the information. And now, TSM, what can you do? Backs against the wall, you gotta make a big play, running out in the open, steps in, and no, it's gonna be Purdy Curdy that goes down, as well as parking. BB is doing a great job on defense, but now it's them and Day Trade with Thanadol so close.
A huge 4v4. Have to keep Tannadol off your backs, but they're completely corralled right now. Tannadol can hold the edge of that rock, make it so difficult for BB team to try to break out towards the center of this circle. Day Trade now all about contain, all about keeping BB from doing much more damage. Oh boy, that frag, I was worried if it went a bit further, might catch the weakened flash, might find a huge knock here for BB team to break out into this final circle.
Belmont playing this very off angle to defend the rest of his team, but it is so hard to go for any peeks down into that area. Spots out some, goes for some shots onto a doozy. Instead, it's just all the members for BB team backs against the blue zone, slowly walking forward. A doozy, I think, might have taken some blue zone damage there. Has to be careful, steps forward, but Bill first. Best of luck, combine, put in some work. Belmont goes down, angle now open. Nurens drop down right on the other side of this hill. Do they know that he's there? They're about to press in. They're gonna spot him, and a doozy comes up big. Now, can you follow up? Yep, they're gonna find it all. BB team takes the game.
And that's a huge win for BB team at the bottom of the leaderboard going into that game. They are definitely going to gain some ground. And like we mentioned, every time, every position matters, and the BB team fans have something to cheer about here on the last day of PGC.
The thing that draws my attention, though, is the amount of points that TSM managed to get in that game, where we saw a falter with points coming up with their guys at the top. This could get spicier as we move forward if TSM can do that a few more times.
No doubt about it. That was a great moment there from Purdy and Sparking to stay alive as long as they did, to scoop up a bunch of kills in the mid to late game to give TSM hope here. They are one good game away from that first place spot.
And TSM has wanted it so many times. Will the hope continue? Let's throw it over to Kalaris and the rest of the analysts.
I may as well repeat exactly what I said last time BB got themselves a victory. It is a textbook play coming out from BB team on the hold, the patience, and then being able to finish things off at the very end. A spectacular showing for the boys. They were in 16th place before this, but there are still huge jump ups that you could be making in this last day to get a lot of money on the board.
You want to put money on the board, you got to do what you got to do, and that's what these guys came out. It was fun to see, once again, our top teams go out early, open the door for other teams to climb up that leaderboard. I will say this is the second time we saw a team get a win with an AWM sort of in the sheath, right? 4AM got their win. They didn't really get any of those big shots, but I think it's the threat of knowing that it's there that keeps teams kind of back. They can't over-peak you. They can't push against you. I really like it as a defensive tactic.
Whenever I hear a boom, boom, I don't peek too much.
Nope.
Not even with a 3 helmet, because you know you can just get knocked, you just get thrown off. I really love this ending though. Such a cool area to have this played out, and how the teams were playing around that high ground, taking advantage of the terrain was, yeah, it played out really cool. And BB, they were able to shut it down. Even getting out of the compound is hard, but they were able to do that in a magnificent way. And get 1 or 2 guys out early, then have one of them cover, and they could play uphill, making sure they were the last team to get in from the northern side.
What a war this
right?
was.
How much was invested for the life of human? Yeah. Also, shout out to the jump scares in this game. Snakers had to have had a heart attack. Hakatori had a heart attack. The amount of times that a player thought, oh, everything is safe, and it never was.
The trigger discipline of example when Perfectix was knocked, I thought, well, there's no way he's not going to jump out and try and go for that attempted defense of that position. But no, I mean, he came out and obviously was able to shut that down. It didn't quite go Batulin's and the boys' way in the end there for Twisted Minds, Martin, but yeah, it was interesting.
I'm assuming that he's thinking, okay, I'm going to strike at a time where I'm minimum getting 2 points.
Yep.
Right?
Correct, yeah.
And he managed to do so. He managed to get 2 points. He was kind of locked in a situation, and even in this circle here, where it kind of went and how far it went away from him, it was a hard circle to play no more at, but they're still thinking, this is somewhat of a home turf circle for Twisted Minds. they could have gotten more points out of this, but they got locked in. They lost example to that situation, then got pressured from so many other teams because other teams know they're a threat.
Yeah.
They had to shut them down. But yeah, again, a lot of teams, they go out early.
Yeah.
And the teams at the very bottom that we have had last 2 days, they got points, and that's important.
So as far as the example play goes, you know, what you could see what happened. Snakers had the lockdown. His team said we need to crash, but he has to go down.
Right.
He made the push. He got it. And Flood, to be honest, hit an insane two-tap flick there to make sure that he went down. If that hadn't happened, I think example holds that second story and would possibly crash into the distance. So beautiful play by Flood to make that happen. It was nice to see a little bit of something out of the Falcons.
So many teams that got so far in this game with a lot of points as well. I want to stick with you, Toffees, for a second, because TSM was initially on the defense and then eventually on the sweep, and they got tons of kills off this 10.
It's the second time we see him doing this. TSM came to play. They know what's at stake. 10 kills out of really not a lot that was working for him. We saw him get kind of stuck with that T1 turnaround. Expendables gave him trouble. They were scrappy through the whole thing, and that's what I love about TSM. That's why they've been consistent all year long. They keep their headspace even keeled, and they're not afraid of taking those scraps and getting every single point they can out of these matches. There was a brief moment where I was like, man, if they could somehow convert this into a win, all of a sudden we got even more teams in this big race, because I think that takes them up to, what, 97 right now?
Oh, they're close.
Yeah, they're going to be super close. And again, this, for them, until they lost 2 players, this felt like a game they could win. That's definitely the mentality going into it. But then once you're able, you go down to 2, it's a salvage game. And once you're able to get that many points out of it, that's huge. But BB Team takes it home. They're able to get 7 kills with it, with the kill and the chicken dinner here. That's huge. 17 points. Again, at the bottom. But they are pushing. They are making a little bit of a difference. And with one more decent game or the rest of the day being better, it could mean that they could get way more of that prize pool.
Glass half full, glass half full.
Yes, yes.
No luck required. Mr. Besselok will be the man of the match for this one. Here again, it's kind of it's a small chicken dinner, not a huge amount of kills coming in from this. But again, it's that patient BB kind of edge style to eventually be able to strike towards the very, very late game. At the same time, though, you're looking at this circle and how it's unfolding.
Yeah.
Day Trade is in a strong spot to be able to defend the position. FaZe is in a strong spot. Those two teams both get themselves double-digit points on the board too.
Right.
And then it turns into honestly, what a fun final circle. When we got to that section where there was about 5 teams left, it was honestly kind of fair for everybody to play through those end games, and then the 4v4. If there's a staple of this event, those final circles have been tons of fun. But let's take a look at this bad boy.
The total leaderboard, and I must say, I wonder if you guys agree with me, just 2 games in, the doors have been blown off because it really is nowhere near as certain as it was yesterday.
100% agree. The 16 points from 7th down to 8th, that's really you need a big game before you catch up to the top 7. But for everyone in the top 7, if they're able to stop T1 still, if they're able to kind of hold a little bit of a break on Freaks, it's still so possible. It's not a 3-horse race at the moment. And the other 9 teams from 8th down to 16th right now, one big game jumps you thousands and thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
The Expectables love to take fights. They're climbing. FaZe, it's Sunday. Watch out. Things could get nuts. TSM says, I'm not letting Twisted Minds catch us, and they have been absolutely grinding. Twisted Minds got more aggressive in that last game. We saw Example going out and taking some risks on those moments. I think those teams, like we said at the start of the day, you were like, they got to get out there and make those moves early. I love that they've done it. And if I'm KDF and I'm T1, I'm actually a little shook right now because they are not getting anywhere near their averages after these first 2 games.
It's definitely feeling like all the other teams, they are super aware of kill feeding right now.
Yeah.
You need to make sure and be aware, okay, this team, they're in the hunt. This team, they're in the lead. We are focusing them. We're third-partying them. We're making sure that they don't run away with it because it's been happening so much before, right? We've seen teams 2 or 3 games left. They have so many points. They don't want that to happen. They want to still have a possibility of themselves taking home the win.
I think Human's situation is everybody went to kill him once they figured out that his team was laying there. It was what? Exactly.
Yeah, just shut them down and see how it goes because we're just 2 games in after the Dusty Dunes. We have huge new contenders trying to challenge for the throne. We wouldn't have it any other way. Everybody in the crowd, stick around. We're going to have a little lucky draw for the raffle going on. But here on the desk, we're going to go to a short break. When we return, as if we were not already going to throw more curveballs at these teams, it's time for the wild card maps. We'll see you in a few.